Now, if you're a real hardcore car audio enthusiast, we've landed on mobile audio and a brand that shares a very interesting lineage and a serious commitment to car audio. The brand in question is Ground Zero, and we're going to discover today some of the things that make this brand unique, make it stand out, and cover some of the innovations you may or may not be aware of. This is CMA Connected, brought to you by SiriusXM, all about Ground Zero car audio. And it starts now. And welcome to the show. We're talking Ground Zero car audio today. Joining me on today's episode, we have two recognizable figures in the industry here. We've got, of course, veteran Nick Wingate. Thank you for joining us, Nick. And Tommy Spears from the HKI Ground Zero team. Welcome to the show. Gentlemen, let's get right into it. Ground Zero is not a new brand. However, it certainly seems that it has garnered a much more intense global kind of following and recognition over the years. But since, coming to North America, it's starting to gain traction. There's a lot of questions around this brand, so I'd like to cover some of that. Let's talk about the brand itself, the heritage. Can you tell us a little bit? Maybe I'll start with Tommy. Give us a little bit for anybody who is not aware of the Ground Zero brand when it comes to car audio. Who is Ground Zero? Where do they come from? And what's the history here?
Pretty much, it started in America back in the 90s. The current Ground Zero owners were the distributor for Ground Zero. And when Ground Zero decided to exit the market, they asked if they could purchase because they love the product so much. And now we're here. They eat, sleep, and breathe car audio. And I'm glad I've had the opportunity to work with them and experience the product for the past 6, almost 7 years now. So,
all right.
That's
So
kind of a little background of them.
that's kind of interesting. Many people don't know that the roots of Ground Zero is actually here in America, but now the headquarters is in Germany. And Nick, I know that you recently had a chance to visit Europe. What can you tell us about Ground Zero, your impressions as far as a manufacturer of car audio product?
Well, I think the first thing that jumps out at me is the commitment they have made uh, to build the absolute best product they can design. That is the one thing that struck me when I was introduced to an awful lot of people I've only heard by name and had a chance to talk to them. I see the passion they have for what they do. And you know as well as I do, Ben, when you believe and love what you do it extremely well because I mean, let's face it, it's your baby. And that's the way they feel about this, whether it's, building an absolute best in SQ or they're going to go build a monster SPO subwoofer and anything in between. It's the best they can build. There is no compromise. And that's the big one I took away from being in Europe with them.
Well, you said something there, and I want to dive a little bit deeper. You said the best that they can build. Now, in the world of car audio, there are what I call two classifications of brands. You have brands that actually develop, create, engineer, their own products, and then you have other ones which, let's just say, aren't so much involved in the design of said product and put their logo on it from a factory far, far away. Right? Let's call it that. What what classification does Ground Zero fall under, Tommy?
So they're ultimately, as you see on all the shirts and everything, Ground Zero Engineering. That's the heart and soul of it, is the engineering side of it, which is one of the main key components. You can literally go somewhere and get somebody to make you a speaker and slap your name on it, like you said. But the engineering side of it is where it's at. Um, as far as getting in and building it, obviously they try to find the best components, the best people that make those components, and work and partner with them so we can bring the best the world has to offer under one name, with their engineering. So they will, we will wait a year for a particular component to be available because they're not going to jeopardize the quality of the product just to have a substitution that may not meet the qualifications or the QC that they want. So that's what's really cool about it. Yes, it is frustrating sometimes when you're waiting on some product, but when that product does come back in stock, it is not compromised by the rashness of just finding another supplier with a subpar component.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to get into some of these innovations a little bit later in this conversation. Now, uh, I've got to, my job here is to ask the questions that, the dealers, the people want to hear. And one of the confusing storylines was it feels and it appears as if when Ground Zero kind of blew up here stateside, it kind of blew up in a category that we weren't, well, those that knew probably found it to be somewhat surprising. And what I'm referring to is the comments I get sometimes that, hey, isn't Ground Zero a motorcycle audio company? I don't know which one of y'all want to take this one, but you're laughing because it's true. And this is kind of like how the cookie crumbled.
I'll take the first part and I'll leave Nick to follow up if that's okay. Obviously, when I came to work for Ground Zero, that was a big thing is, power sports, motorcycle. And that is still true to this day for us at HKI with Ground Zero. Actually, I would say there's more emphasis on our competition line of speakers and that aspect of things. But it has always been a car audio brand that happened to work very well in the power sports lineup. We've heard Andy and Jacob say this over the years with you guys on the show. But that is true. It's, when we hired Andy to come on and he got more involved in the role of helping develop stuff for power sports, he's always made sure it was dual purpose. If, the new red basket carbons that just came out, the 8s and the 6s, can be used in car, Jeep, bike, boat, whatever you want, because it's dual purpose. Because that way somebody has a Harley, they love the way that sounds, and they go, well, I don't know what to put in my car or my truck that tows it. You can replicate that in the truck very easily, because it's not Harley specific product. We kind of step up where Harley specific product drops off. We step up and go more of the custom side, more of the higher end competition side, but we still also have everything for your daily riders as well. And that could be same said for car audio, because that same aspect is already being used as the dual purpose stuff is coming out.
I got a comment on this. I mean, this whole spiel that you just put out there came full circle when I'd seen Nick Wingate at a show literally stop and listen to a motorcycle. Do you remember that moment, Nick?
Oh yeah.
And correct me here if I'm wrong, but I think it has a lot to do with the fact of what you said there, Tommy. Ground Zero has components that do specific things. I think this is the message that I want our listeners to know. Marketing is marketing, packaging is packaging. If you market a said product towards a segment, sure, you can call it, motorcycle audio. Really, though, from an engineering standpoint, does that driver attain the specifications and the output you need for said environment? And in the case of Ground Zero, there is such an offering of different, values, performance, so on and so forth, that guys like Andy, we were talking about Andy Smith, by way, Power Sports Director, managed to figure out how to optimize said components to achieve the output they wanted. And then that comes full circle to that type of quality sound that I see Nick trip over, because I never would have thought Nick would take a second to even care about bike sound. Am I right, Nick? Or am I speaking?
Oh, no, it's very true. Yeah. It's just loud noise.
Exactly. But what did you hear different, though? What made this experience different for you?
Well, it was this overall fidelity that I experienced at, I don't know, 120 dB. I mean, that's ridiculous. That's what you expect at an outdoor concert.
Right.
And the level of fidelity that I heard on that bike literally made, you saw me, I stopped and sit there and stared at it, and I'm going, you've got to be kidding me. Really?
Mm-hmm.
It is a testament, I think, to the engineering prowess of the company, that they build they build the product to a standard. And Tommy will tell you, and so will Jacob, these guys are audiophiles. Every doggone one of them, they are pain in the butt home audiophiles, literally, and they know music. And they know that, there are times when you're going to want to play something ridiculously loud, especially in the car audio environment, or in this particular instance, motorcycle audio environment. So when you notice that, I'm listening to these drivers, and the fidelity is amazing, and the dynamics are there, but the fidelity was maintained. I had a newfound respect.
It's something special, something different, for
Yes,
sure.
because the engineers, you realize that, what, there is no compromise. They don't care. We're going to build it, and this is it. And thank you very much.
Listen, I have to agree. I go to the same shows you go to, Nick, and you hear
Yeah.
the loud vehicles, that whether they're the side by sides or the bikes, and a lot of the time, I think what they're trying to sell is volume, right? A lot of the
Yeah.
times. In this instance, from personal experience, you didn't have to play it loud necessarily. Like if you like it, and I'm not throwing shade on people who like it loud. I'm just saying for
No,
myself,
not at all.
I even at the lower volumes, I was like, oh my goodness, what there's something different about this type of setup. Which leads me to something you just said. Everybody at Ground Zero, you're saying, are audiophiles. They're geeks. They love this stuff. They eat, breathe
They
it.
do.
There's a certain level of commitment that has been pretty obvious when it comes to the support that Ground Zero is throwing towards stuff like sound competitions, not just
Mhm.
SPL, SQ. There's been, we've talked a lot about some cool events that you guys are going to, events that you've already supported. So, how would you gauge Ground Zero's overall global support of the competition scene? I'll start with Nick.
Well, it's just real simple. They are the title sponsor for EMA worldwide, and that's a commitment. I mean, when you go to EMA finals in Europe, and you see the level of commitment that all of the other companies who are there, you know, and you realize that they are a title sponsor. That's a commitment. That's a heck of a commitment, because it's a lot of money. I mean, it all comes down to one thing. It comes down to money. But it's not just in Europe; it's in Asia as well. If you spend any time on any of the Facebook or the Instagram forums, and you start looking in SQ or SPL, you're going to see there is a Ground Zero banner prominently displayed, and it's because more than likely they are the title sponsor of the event,
So
especially EMA Finals Asia.
Huge commitment there. Let's talk about backyard. I know you guys are headed to an interesting event a little bit later on this month. We're in the summer of 2026, going down to Texas at an event called Heatwave. Tommy, this is like a local support. What can you tell us about that?
We've always heard about Heatwave. Nick came on and said, "Hey, I'm going to be there," and work with Diogo on getting the booth set up and everything like that. Organized. And Nick were talking, and I wanted to join. A few months later, it got even more complex, and we decided to bring the whole team. So all of us from HKI USA, Ground Zero USA, will be at Heatwave, if not for the full time, for some of the time of Heatwave. But we also wanted our whole team to experience it, like we've allowed a lot of our team to experience Emma over
because there's competitions going down, right? We got SQ, we've got SPL competitions going. There's going to be a whole brouhaha of a weekend.
Yeah. And we'll have multiple cars, but we'll also have one of Andy's bikes. So we'll be able to demo almost anything from a $4,000 retail system all the way up.
Nice.
So it'll be a really cool event. It's going to be hot, but we want to go down and support our dealers that are going to be there competing, but also want to just get the name out there with a show like this.
Amazing. And not to mention, Nick, you and I, we've spoken about other events that you went to, like Expona earlier on in the year and so on and so forth. So needless to say, all we're trying to understand here, ascertain, is, Ground Zero's in there. They want to support events. They want to support competition. They're audiophiles. and they've got a rich history in car audio. After the break, we're going to come back and we're going to dive into some of the unique technologies, innovations that Ground Zero has recently put out that we think you really need to know about. Don't go away.
Hey, Paul with SiriusXM here, and with 3 easy steps, you can maximize your business. Number 1, make sure you have the current promotional material up. Understand the offer? Make sure your team knows it. 2, have a unit on display. Set the presets to different genres so you can recommend and play the music that your customer listens to. And number 3, think about this. Most vehicles you're replacing the head unit with already has a SiriusXM tuner in it. So adding it just requires an antenna adapter, a SiriusXM tuner. It's a 30-second install and you're done. So there it is, guys. 3 easy steps to maximize every sale this season with SiriusXM.
All right, thanks for tuning in to CMA Connected, brought to you by SiriusXM. We're going to continue on with our good friends here from Ground Zero. You know, the first half of the show, we really dug into the brand, right? Get some information out there as to who you guys are, what you guys do, kind of your DNA. Let's talk about actual product for a second here, because there are some pretty nifty innovations that Ground Zero has put to market, let's call it the last year or so. Nick, you're my go-to guru, guy, so I'm going to ask you some questions here. Let's talk about 3. You know, we don't have too much time, but I know you can go forever on each one of these. So let's kind of dig into the meat and bones of what makes these 3 items super cool and unique. And this is good for understanding who Ground Zero is. Why would a company like this spend the resources to develop the stuff that you're about to talk about? So why don't we start at the very top? This isn't new as in this year. It's been 2-3 years it's been out, but it continues to be such a out of the box, out of this world kind of product that there's really nothing that I can think of that is in the same realm for several reasons. And we're talking about the Ultra A2 amplifier. So Nick, real brief, what do car audio people need to know that makes this amplifier so special?
Well, it was designed and built by the guru of car audio amplifiers for the last 30 years. And he's based in Great Britain. And he basically was given a task of building a no-holds-barred amp for the car, period. The story is he was told that there were no restrictions. There was basically, here's the blank canvas, build what you think is the best and call us when you're done. And when you have that kind of experience and you've been doing this for as long as he has, and you're given the ability to do what you want, that's a heck of a statement, to build what you want. And we don't care about the price. We'll worry about it later.
We call that carte blanche.
He had carte blanche. And when you see the amplifier, and all you got to do is turn the amplifier over. There's a clear back on it. You can see, and you look at the construction of the amplifier, you realize this is completely different from anything you've ever seen in car audio, because it looks like home audio. Mm-hmm. There are no op amps in this thing. Okay. There are no potentiometers. There's 2 switches. Okay. Instead of potentiometers to handle, one is the bias setting and one is the input voltage setting. That's it. And believe it or not, those are the most expensive parts used in this amplifier, are these switches. They're made by a company in Switzerland called Elma. And they can only build so many of these switches a year because the parts to build them are very difficult to come by. Yeah. That ought to tell you something right there.
So exotic. Love it. I love it.
Extremely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys looking for crazy over the top? Ground Zero's got it. Check out the Ultra A2 amplifier real quick. Last year came up with a new cone design for the new reference series speaker. So before there was Ultra, reference, right, Tommy, has always been like the upper echelon of the Ground Zero speaker family. So then, they came out the Ultra. We're not going to, yes, there's Ultra speakers as well. We don't have time to talk about them all, but they had to do something to kind of put some new energy back into their former top of the line, which is the reference. I'm going to go back to you, Nick. We did chat about this quickly, but let the folks know at home what they did this time.
Well, they have licensed a technology for a company called ELAC, which is a home audio manufacturer in Germany. And it is a cone material that it's an aluminum paper composite material. And it is a diamond faceted, no kidding. It's the material on the mid range and the mid bass is a diamond faceted cone, and it stiffens the cone up substantially without adding any weight to it. It also allows the mid bass driver to play higher than you normally would think a 6.5 or a 3.5 inch could play. It's very, very impressive technology in that respect. Different voice coil designs. There are shorting rings built into it. The neodymium magnets are the best there is that they can get their hands on. Brand new inverted titanium dome tweeter that they basically plays ruler flat to 15,000 hertz off axis. I mean, I've seen the chart and I sat there and I went, that's just ridiculous. And power handling on the tweeter is stupid. Power handling in the mid bass is ridiculous. I mean, I have them in my car, and you get in there, and it is just stunning in the realism that you can get from these speakers when it comes to dynamics. It's scary. I mean,
But
normally
scary good. Scary good.
oh, it's scary good. Yeah. I
Right,
mean, when
right.
you're listening to a drum solo, for instance, and somebody hits a snare drum, I played drums forever, and when you hear the snare hit with everything you have before you tear the skin on the damn snare drum, it can hurt.
Mhm.
These things will do it. It
Mm.
will literally, it's the closest thing I've heard in a long time to a really live snare drum. It's amazing.
Last piece. Either one of you jump in here. Let's talk about a unique feature that kind of quirky feature or something that you may not know about. Maybe in the amplifiers. We talked about speakers. We talked about the A2 amp. What do you got first, Tommy?
Hold on. Sorry. Say that last part again. I'm sorry.
I asked you about a quirky feature about the amplifiers. Remember you were mentioning about the off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So hold on. Get ready.
Yeah,
In three-
Oh, go ahead.
Let me count you in. Everybody freeze. Have your drink. Because I'm going to get Tim to cut that. In
Okay.
5, 4, 3.
Yeah, so in uranium and plutonium, about a year ago, I sent Nick a care package to plutonium amplifiers, and obviously in Nick fashion, he decided to open them up, and he found some things that me not being the super techie guy would have never even noticed. He found some things that I will let him explain what he found out on that, and then obviously found out on the uranium amplifier side too.
Yeah, we when I opened the plutonium amps up, obviously the part complement is just ridiculous. But there's one thing I did notice. The op amplifiers in this, they're socketed, which means that we can change the operational amplifiers out and put different ones in. So you can tailor make each individual output channel to your own particular style of music. This is a relative new thing in car audio. It's been around in home audio for a while.
I was just going to say, this sounds very home audio-ish.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a whole industry around this. And you literally can, make this sound the way you do. For instance, there's a company out there, and I don't mind talking about it. There's a company called Sparkos, Sparkos. The op amps that they will sell you are $75 to $85 a piece.
Yee.
They are radically different than what you see in this amplifier. Like right now in the plutonium, there's op amplifiers from Burr Brown / Texas Instruments. Those are $5, $7 a piece. You can get them at DigiKey. Yeah. And there's 8 of them in a 4-channel plutonium amplifier. Do the math.
Beautiful. Love it. Thank you for sharing that with us.
And it is a dramatic difference.
Again, I asked about some unique, quirky stuff. You guys delivered, and there's more. Unfortunately, we're short on time. We can go on forever. However, I wanted to end this conversation, because if anybody's sticking with us right up till here, we said something that might have pique their interest, right? So let's talk about from two different perspectives. Let's talk about from a dealer perspective, right? Lots of different car audio brands out there, reputable ones that have been around in the game, recognizable. Ground Zero is not going to be the first brand that a customer is going to say they want when they walk into an I'm average, customer coming in.
Yeah.
There's many other brands that will probably pop off the tongue before the Ground Zero brand, just because of its history, their history, maybe their previous systems that they've had, so on and so forth. So what message do you have for dealers? Who is the right dealer for Ground Zero?
That's a very easy question. A dealer that wants a partner, a dealer that wants to utilize what we all have to offer, as well as Ground Zero strategically makes things the way they do. We strategically put our team together for the strengths of every individual that works for us, from Nick with car audio for tuning, tech support that way, to Andy with the power sports side of things, to me with the sales side of things, to Rob with his enclosure design and also his tuning and build capability, and then also Dan with his aspect from power sports and car to be able to help his dealers. So and then we've got Jacob, the brains behind the situation, orchestrating everything and making sure the new product, we're all up to date on what's coming and what's not. So we all work very well together in orchestrating basically the end all be all for dealer support. Everybody's involved in this aspect, all the way down to even Sandra doing the orders. So
Beautiful.
and then what Diogo does with making sure we're able to do all this. So if you're looking for that type of support, then I would definitely recommend reaching out, or shooting us an email. The other thing too is we want dealers that are willing to learn. If you're not learning, I don't want you. No offense, but I don't. In this industry, we can't have stagnant dealers.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not always trying to learn, always trying to improve, that is something that we base our decisions on who we bring on as dealers, because last thing we want is a bad representation of our brand.
Understood. Last question. I'll flip the script. Maybe I'll go to you as an enthusiast, Nick. Tommy spoke to the business side of things. Let's speak to the enthusiast now, right?
Okay.
What message do you have for an enthusiast to take a closer look at Ground Zero in 2026?
Well, if you are one of the people that music is a huge part of your life, you're certainly going to want to take a look at this company. They pride themselves on, again, being audiophiles. They pride themselves on building product that is very different. It's very unique. They have a tendency to look at things in a different fashion. I'm not saying right or wrong, but it's different. And it is unique, and I think when you take a look at what they're doing, like for instance, with reference, that they stepped outside the box and they thought outside the box, went over to home audio and thought, oh, well, wait a minute, we've got something here that's really cool. They are also a car audio company. That's all they do. They eat, sleep, and drink this stuff. And that makes a statement to me that when you've got a company that knows where they know their lane, they're going to devote 100% of all their R&D funding into this lane. They're going to end up giving you a superior product with superior performance. And if you are one of the people in the car audio hobby world, or even on the bike hobby audio part of the world, we offer a superior product. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't. I mean, Tommy knows this, and so does Jake. Well, Ben, I've told you this. I'd be retired, but I heard this. I saw this. I got the opportunity to help everybody understand this is different. This is tremendous product, and it's the reason I'm here.
Okay.
It is amazing, and it deserves to be heard.
On that note, We've talked about product. We talked about the brand, the engineering, the innovations. I want to take this opportunity to thank Nick and Tommy for joining me on this Connected. If you're interested in finding out more information, I do implore you, check out the website, groundzerousa.com. At the end of the day, Ground Zero, they make a pretty convicting case. Are they the most serious car audio brand on the planet? We'll let you decide. On that note, thanks for tuning in to this CMA Connected, brought to you by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu. Until next time, we connect.